Namaste Mahamaya Shreepithe Surpujite Shankha Chakra Gada Haste Mahalakshmi Namostute. With that quote, we would like to begin our today's podcast, which is called Viksit Bharat, Funding Billion Dreams. I welcome you all to this podcast with the investors from the ecosystem. We have with us Alok Ranjanji from Tauran Advisors.
Hello.
We have Devansh Lakhani ji from Lakhani Financial Services.
Hello, how are you? Namaskar.
On my right, I have Nikhil Gupta ji from Marwari Catalyst.
Hi.
And again, to my extreme right is Chintan Ojha ji from Anantam Ecosystems.
Namaskar.
So when we talk about startup ecosystem, many of the students which we interact with, and I come from almost like 14 years experience in the startup ecosystem, the main challenge which students say that we don't have funding for pivoting our ideas. And students also complain that from government perspective, there are no seed funds for pivoting their MVP and all. So we'll try to demystify this through this podcast, and we'll try to connect the dots as to what are the investors doing for the startup ecosystem and what is their thought process towards the academic startups, what are the policy issues maybe, and how the future is going to shape in terms of financing or funding landscape. So let's start with the question directly. To all of you, I would like to request if you can brief about what you do and explain us in a minute or two, and what you see as a future of Indian startup ecosystem in terms of growth and investment. So let's start with Chintan ji.
Sure, definitely. So let me begin with my introduction. So I'm Chintan Ojha, founder of Anantam Ecosystem. Have 2 decades of corporate experience. By qualification, I am an alumnus of IIT Mumbai, UC Berkeley, and University of Oxford. In startup ecosystem, I have been actively engaged with Startup 20 and BRICS, been associated with various other accelerators and incubators across India and other neighboring countries. As an angel investor, I have invested in multiple startups, been mentoring multiple entrepreneurs, and on advisory board of few companies. So this is what I do professionally for our startup ecosystem. Now, as far as the question is concerned, the trend for 2025 is indeed welcoming. I myself have observed that many startups are taking route of products. Traditionally, we have been famous as a service economy, but now many startups are getting into developing new products, and that is a welcome change. In my view, when I look at this new trend, I see that this new trend is a result of strong ecosystem which has been developed in our academic institutions, where various types of initiatives are being run and students are being encouraged to try their hands on building a product. So I really foresee that new products would continue to come out, and India will soon become a product economy as well. So I'm quite positive about these things. Apart from this, I also observe a good trend, a good traction in terms of various deep tech technologies, and that is where I see that new breakthroughs will soon come in our way in next 1,000 days time from the deep tech ecosystem. So this is what I observe. Over to you.
Thank you so much for those insights, Chintan ji. Over to Nikhil sir. Nikhil ji, can you address that question and give us insights as to what your thoughts?
So first of all, Umesh, thank you so much for having me on your channel and being a part of this great initiative which you've taken up. And I truly believe that, in fact, I'll beg to differ a little bit when you said that there are not much of initiatives which have been taken by the government of India. I truly believe that we are much better off today than what we were maybe 6 months back, 3 years back, 5 years back, and so on and so forth. Just to make a little bit of an introduction about myself and where I come from. So, yes, I am Nikhil Gupta. I represent Marwari Catalyst. Marwari Catalyst is an accelerator, is a startup accelerator in India. And I play the role of Director Strategy and Alliances, where I lead strategy and alliances both at the principal level for Marwari Catalyst as well as at the portfolio level. The second role that I also play at Marwari Catalyst is I'm the CEO and the fund manager for Marwari Catalyst SEBI regulated fund. And I'm being a little flamboyant over here in saying that Marwari Catalyst Fund is the first fund from Rajasthan.
Okay.
So also the point that I'm trying to make over here is that gone are those days where structured finance or alternate investment fund was restricted only to a tier 1 city or maybe something like a Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi, so on and so forth. Now, in fact, we are seeing a lot of opportunities coming up in tier 2, tier 3 cities. A lot of new initiatives which have already been taken by the government, and players like us, accelerators like us, and funds like us are all there to support it. So to that extent, I'll justify by saying that there are a lot of initiatives which have been taken by the government, and kudos to you and your team for actually kind of taking the first step in that direction and leading it through in terms of new developments and new initiatives to be taken. Also, the second point which I would want to make over here is that, and support the first one, in fact, is that there are a lot of not just ecosystem support on non-commercial front, but also commercially there are a lot of initiatives by the government of India.
Right.
There are a lot of government grants, subsidies which are available. And so when we actually talk about government grants and subsidies for an outsider or for a newcomer, उन्हें शायद ऐसा लगता होगा कि ये actually होता है क्या ऐसे, या it is only there on paper, already there in books. I'm truly a witness to this fact because Marwari Catalyst also has got some government grants from Startup India, so on and so forth. So I know for sure कि, and I can vouch for it कि ये होता है. मतलब हमने किया है, हमें मिला है, तो ये हर किसी को मिल सकता है. But when I'm saying हर किसी को मिल सकता है, obviously you have a lot of things to be followed. There are a lot of checker points which need to be met up, and it only gets better when the entire process is also managed and led by a accomplished player. Or by a professional.
Right.
In fact, we also take the liberty of saying that Marwari Catalyst also plays a very detailed and an involved role when it comes to getting in a lot of these government grants and subsidies to our portfolio companies.
Okay.
And we can do that again because we work extensively and very closely with institutions and so on and so forth within India, and also some bit of it offshore as well. So definitely the appetite is there. Definitely solutions are there. It is only about reaching out to the right set of people and putting that practice and that policy or that procedures in place. So with that, I would say that I think it's great to be over here, and my special congratulations to you for this entire effort. And I think we still have a long way to go, but we are together in it.
Absolutely. Thank you for those insights. I will come back to you. I'll come back to all of you on the hand-holding part of it, how you are helping the portfolio startups, because that is something which is very important, and we have some great initiatives like Smart India Hackathon Chintan ji has invested in, and I know you and others have been part of the IIC activities. Wherever we have the demo sessions or pitching rounds, you are always there for them, and you have been...
So sorry if I can just in fact add over here. So we've already taken that step, and we are working very closely with a couple of institutions that are AICs or incubators or TBIs, not just in Maharashtra but across the country. We are working, and I can give you some examples over here. We are working extensively and very closely with, for example, IIT Jodhpur.
Okay.
We are working very closely with a couple of institutions in Pune. We are, and I can give you names again over here, which is the Marathwada Mitra Mandal Institute. We are working very closely with Bharati Vidyapet in Pune. We in the northern region, we are working very closely with somebody like an LPU University, which is a lovely professional university. We have some detailed discussions going around with the Chandigarh group of colleges. So all, and Rajasthan, of course, is there.
Right.
So it's tried and tested. It's there for you to take it.
That's incredible work. And yeah, I've been following up with that, the kind of role you guys are playing with into the investment landscape in the ecosystem. So I'll come back to the LPU example also, because there are some questions pertaining to the patent. So let's move to the left. Devanshi, you are part of the Lakhani Financial Services, and I think it's a 6-year-old firm, and that's what we discussed. And I got the insights from you, and you have invested in 19. You have a 19 portfolio startup. So, what's your view? How the things are going to shape?
So, first of all, thank you for inviting me on this podcast. I think it's wonderful to be here and to be a part of such an initiative from you, your team at Ministry of Education. Lovely to be a part of this and interacting with these bunch of people, much more intelligent than what I am, and it's good to be a part of this circle. Quick introduction. Yes, I am the founder of Lakhani Financial Services. We are an investment banking company wherein we help startups to raise funds from like-minded investors. We've invested, or we've raised funds rather, I would not say we've invested, but we've raised funds for 19 startups. And we keep on advising multiple startups from different sectors. Coming to this particular question that you asked, right? I think it's very much visible that today's day and age, there are so many colleges, so many institutes, as Nikhil bhai previously mentioned, Chintan sir mentioned. There are so many institutes that are actually providing guidance, providing programs, are having entrepreneurship cells, having hackathons, having business plan competitions. It starts with that business plan competition. छोटा prize money शायद 50,000 हो, 1 lakh हो. So there is a little bit monetary involved. There is non-monetary benefits when I've been a part of these kind of programs. I'm sure everyone out here have been a part of these kind of programs. जो जाके अपना टाइम देते हैं, अपना एफर्ट देते हैं, उनके साथ टाइम स्पेंड करते हैं, वो 4 घंटे 5 घंटे एट दैट इवेंट. वी स्पीक विद द स्टूडेंट्स, उनको गाइड करते हैं. एंड दीज काइंड ऑफ इनिशिएटिव्स आर बीइंग डन in so many colleges. In fact, now ESAL has become mandatory, if I'm not wrong. At
if you don't have one.
And all colleges and universities are doing that. So that is a big kudos to the entire the thing that is flowing from top to bottom, from Ministry of Education to the T, जहाँ पे एक छोटी यूनिवर्सिटी भी ये कर रही है और उसमें जो बच्चा पढ़ रहा है वो पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा है. So that is a wonderful thing. We've been part, and I think there are so many brilliant ideas. One very good case study I would like to share is that right now I was at NMIMS competition, one ESAL competition. It was there, and there was a team of one boy and girl who were presenting and pitching one idea, and it was a good idea at their age. I mean, 19-20-year-old, very confident girl. And that girl, of course, they are not going to build that company now because they're still studying and stuff like that, focusing on their career. But I met that girl later on in a Navratri function of Falguni Pathak. I suddenly banged in front of like 1 lakh people. I don't know how I just met her, and we just connected out there. And she asked me out there, sir, I'm looking for some internship. And we have hired her for internship at LFS. Because I saw that spark in that girl where she wants to become an entrepreneur. And probably in that journey over the next 7-8 years, she may or may not become, I don't know, but she has that spark to be a leader. She has that spark to do stuffs on her own. So, यहाँ से ऐसे college से, when you are giving them so much of importance, you are teaching them leadership skills, guiding them on that path, they would eventually, learn and do something very good in their lives with their startups, whichever they form. So I think that's a very interesting, which thing is starting from the top, as I said, from the education ministry, from your team, and then it comes to the T, at the grassroots level. So I think that's wonderful.
Those were great insights, Devanshi, and the aspect about the elevator pitch which you talked about, and getting the girl on board. It's a great I can say an example. I mean, like, so students today are so vibrant. I mean, like, they want to do all the things, right? And I think they are bounded by certain things, but they want to do a lot of things. full of ideas, full of enthusiasm.
They are bounded by the college timings.
And it's a completely different atmosphere over there with fresh minds, fresh innovative ideas coming in. It only gets better when there is somebody at the supreme level to kind of either give them direction or not just direction, but also support them in doing that.
Right.
So it cannot get better than that.
Absolutely. The top-down approach makes sense. So Alok ji, what is your thought process on this?
First of all, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a great opportunity to be part of such a forum. And when we talk about Viksit Bharat, and especially from startup ecosystem, so we definitely feel that startup ecosystem is going to explode. It may explode in the next few years, and that's what we are seeing all across because of government support that we are seeing right now. But before I get into that, let me just do a small introduction about myself. So I am the CEO and co-founder at Torrent Advisors. We primarily work with projects that are initiated and supported by the World Bank, UNDP, UNICEF kind of projects, and supporting startup ecosystem is also part of our portfolio. So we enable a lot of startup. We are part of the Seed Star network, and we work with few TBIs here in India as well. And basis that, so our interactions with startups, I would say, when it comes to the trends that we see, especially the evolving trends in India, I see especially in the last 5 to 7 years, things have changed drastically. And when I say drastically, it's like earlier we had to seek out. Now there is a lot of opportunities, not only in the form of investment opportunity, but you have a large ecosystem which is available around you to support the startups. Right. You have TBIs, you have incubators, and more educational institutes is what we see are being encouraged to be part of these ecosystem. So that is something, a big change that we are seeing right now in the Indian scenario. The other in fact, I was recently part of one, similar pitching event, which was at one school level, actually. And I was quite surprised, I'd say it was very heartening to see students from 8th standard, 9th, 10th standard coming and pitching their ideas. And in fact, there was a kid who came up to me and he was like discussing an idea. He was so much into that idea that he exchanged phone numbers with me. And I said, okay, I will be there to support in whatever way capacity I can. So this is the kind of change that we see. It's not just at the college level or say at the business level or professionals coming out of institutes or their jobs and then setting up businesses, but it also percolating at school level right now, especially in the larger cities like Mumbai, Delhi, where students have started, and media or digitization also is a big part in this, because with all the Shark Tank and different kind of programs that run that we see, and globally I think similar programs are there. So those programs are also shaping the mind in which youngsters can start to think. They are looking at others and they are taking them as an inspiration, and that itself is a big change that we see in the way people have started to think and inculcate their idea.
Absolutely. Great insights from the school ecosystem. Definitely, we have an institution innovation council, and in Maharashtra Goa region, I am having around 2,000 IICs. This is established in the institution and it is governed by the faculty. We also have school innovation council, so we believe in the catch them young, concept, and we have been running school innovation programs with the help of SICs. Similarly, with IIC, we have 50 calendar events in a year. 50 calendar exhaustive. I think it is difficult for some of the institutes to even complete all those 50. Right? And be it IITs, be it BITS, Pilani, be it any of the institute, all of these have the IICs in place. Right? Now, very important point which was highlighted by Chintanji, I'll come to you about the product startup. So, I think audience will be happy to hear from you the approach which you have for a product startup or a non-product or a software-based, or an e-commerce platform or an aggregator. So, what is your take? I mean, obviously, you mentioned that product, we are going to move towards product economy, but how you are handling? Do you have some portfolio startups which you are helping them?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the one of the portfolio company is a outdoor air purifier company, and that is where we are actively working with product designers, various mechanic people, electricians, fabricators to develop multiple versions of the product, and then we keep on testing them and then developing a roadmap of features. And that is why my founder is on a definitive learning journey. So this is something which I feel it is the need of the moment, because it is related to purification of outdoor air which is polluted, and the right traction from the ecosystem is enabling the founder to take the right step. And then I'm glad that he has multiple active conversations, opportunities in his pipeline. So that is how we are helping. Definitely there is a challenge, and
I think he's also part of the Smart India Hackathon.
he is
So he's an alumni of our one of the
Smart India Hackathon
programs,
and that is where I would say yes, there are challenges, but that is where entrepreneurs are for. Life isn't easy, but then you keep on chasing your vision, and that is where we help, handhold, mentor, connect, and help them scale up and accelerate. So that is what we do beyond our roles, apart from being an investor. And as far as services companies are concerned, definitely I would say that my first strategy or plan is to enable them to have a pilot, because as and when you have a pilot, then you are able to understand that how the product is and how you would get benefited and have the real feel of the product. So for services startups, our approach is to get into a pilot.
Okay. Nikhil sir, any thoughts on that?
So I'll bring out 2 points over here, Umesh, and I truly believe that both the areas, whether we're talking about from product perspective or service oriented space, I think both these are equally important. In fact, for us at Maverick Catalyst, just to give you examples, D2C or product companies is something where we originally started from. In fact, I still recollect, and now today I could perhaps laugh it off by saying that there was till certain period of time, in fact, people were under the misconception कि Maverick Catalyst खाली D2C companies को ही accelerate करता है या खाली invest करता है, which is not true actually. But I will also quickly add that D2C as a space is extremely close to us at Maverick Catalyst, because that is where we began our journey. And I can give enough and more examples from our portfolio companies, which are known companies in the ecosystem today. I can talk about Jaipur Watch, I can talk about Terms, I can talk about Thela Gadi, I can talk about Bike Card. All these companies came to us as D2C companies or as pure product companies. Of course, now it's a different subject that a few of these companies have moved on to become from a D2C company or a product-oriented company to a lifestyle company. Right? So that journey that they have actually covered from a D2C company to a lifestyle-driven D2C company, that itself explains quite a bit. That is their migration from where they originally started off from, and how their audience has kind of inflated from there or magnified from there. Similarly, I could also give examples of community building company, because we have successfully run accelerator programs for community building. Again, a very marquee name that I can mention over here is Sarthi Healthcare. Again, Sarthi Healthcare is known in the ecosystem. Sarthi Healthcare, in a second, if I talk about them, basically Sarthi Healthcare services healthcare related solutions for elderly people. Okay, now that's a pure community driven space.
Right.
That's not a product driven space. Right. But again, this company has also shown excellent results over a period of time. They originally started from Rajasthan. They have a pilot running in Bangalore now, so on and so forth in different regions. So the point that I'm trying to make over here is that the moment each of these companies get the right kind of hand-holding and a support, I think that is the key. That is much required. So I refrain from believing in the fact that khali D2C company chalti hai, product company does well, या हम खाली सर्विस ओरिएंटेड पे फोकस करते हैं, या today's trend also is that tech involvement या tech enabled companies is the only thing which we need to look at or we need to take an exposure. I'm not averse to that. I'm also very bullish about tech enabled companies. But I truly believe that there's a lot of importance and equal importance needs to be given to other product oriented companies as well. Because with especially with if you're talking from government initiatives also, I think the biggest classic example over here was Make in India shift. When Make in India shift was not oriented for service driven companies, that was
Right.
for product driven
Product-driven
companies, right? And it's a known fact, not just in India but globally, that the moment the country or that particular region becomes a hub for manufacturing, that's where the turnaround actually happens.
Right.
We've seen that happen in Singapore. We've seen some part of it happening in the GCC region, and I mean we can go on and on talking about those examples. So I think that is a classic example, and that's something which we are witness to. That is something which we have already started seeing the changes that have come up in the past 5 years, 7 years, 10 years time, vis-a-vis what it was perhaps 20 years back. So definitely those brownie points, those tickers on the checklist are already visible.
Great. Those are good insights from the global ecosystem and how things are shaping. And I really like the fact how you highlighted about the startup from the SIH. I mean, like we have students sometimes feel it challenging as to which path I should choose. Many of the students also think that in the same scope there is a product opportunity, in the same scope there is also service opportunity, right? And like community driven Starthi Healthcare, it could be an app also simply, or it could be some kind of a healthcare tool, I mean, like which could be used in hospitals. So coming to you, like, with those insights, like what is your view about this product and
So it's a very interesting take, because this is somewhere where I have really tried to understand after advising and mentoring startups, is that there are two aspects to it. Number one, I'll give an example of one of our companies where we had helped them raise funds, which is Navar's, into space education, space edtech. And they were initially into services, education, so space education services basically, and they were approaching schools to provide those services. A lot of B2B service oriented stuff. Later on, when we had started working, at that time COVID had struck. So school business was almost ठप हो गया था पूरा, मतलब of course क्योंकि जा ही नहीं सकते थे बच्चे वगैरह, तो वो पूरा down था. That is when we understood that we need to pivot and utilize tech to create small ticket size products, tech products, and try to sell it even outside India. तो हमने GCC में स्टार्ट किया उसको ऑनलाइन बेचना, कोर्स बना के. सो दोज बिकम लिटिल स्मॉल टिकट साइजेस कोर्स. स्कूल में ऑफ कोर्स इट बिकम्स लिटिल लार्जर, वो बल्क में यू हैव टू गो एंड यू हैव टू टीच आउट देयर एक्सेट्रा एंड शोकेस ऑल. तो थोड़ा मैन पावर ओरिएंटेड हो जाता है, व्हिच वाज दैट टाइम इट हैड बिकम अ प्रॉब्लम. And the scalability then started coming with that small ticket size courses, which became a product, which eventually helped them raise one round, then second round, etc. also. So इनके लिए ऐसा चला कि this was one kind of an example where with this kind of tech product या course बोल लो, for this education, it helped them to scale faster, make them good, profitable also. Plus it was giving them very good revenues also, right? What happens with specifically now, if I have to talk for students, if little more younger generation students, right? If they are starting out something, even if they want to build, let's say, an app or a tech stack or a tech platform or something, right? Ideally, this is one type of a very strong suggestion I give to any student or if I visit a college or something, so any student who's starting out, don't straight away go and invest into the tech product. Okay, because it will take a lot of your money, efforts, time, समझने में, POC करने में, वो सब में बहुत पैसा और बहुत time चला जाएगा, which you may not be able to do it at that point in time. Rather, the problem that you are trying to solve, उसको एक service की तरह solution दो. So you become an expert into that, right? Let's say if you want to, maybe create something into, a gym or a fitness platform, an app or something. So if you want to help people solve that kind of a problem, maybe obesity or whatever, to get lean mass or something, और आपको जिम का एक फिटनेस ऐप क्रिएट करना है, तो rather you first become a certified gym trainer, and you try to get skilled into that, provide that service. You will understand that actual needs on the ground when you meet the
Absolutely.
customers, train them properly. You'll understand whether you can actually develop an app around it or something. Then invest into that. So that there's a transition from service to product, which should happen at a grassroots level when there are students and they want to start something. So that is something which I always tell, that to keep it little bit better and to understand the real market situation, you need to go on the ground, provide that service, probably you, your co-founders together, friends together at a student level, and then probably transition to a product eventually, which will help you to scale and amplify it at a larger level,
Amazing.
at a mass level.
Right.
So that is where I would like to add. That is what I advise to all my mentees who are validating their ideas. If you want to build a startup that would last for a year, interview 1,000 prospects. If you want to build a startup that would last for 3 years, interview 3,000 prospects. If you want to build a startup that would last for 10 years, interview 10,000 prospects. Having said that, 1,000, 3,000 or 10,000 prospects, interviewing them in a shorter span is not possible. Hence, customer interviews should be a continuous exercise, because this is where our preferences changes from city to city, from age group, from economic status, from religious belief. So India is a large country, and that is where you need to address multiple preferences of customers in different cities altogether, and that is where interviewing customer and validating your idea is a continuous exercise, and that is what I recommend to all my mentees.
Yeah, good insights.
So
Huh?
I also, just to add over here to what Chintabhai mentioned, I think it has been an acceptable norm today that there is a process to be followed in the ecosystem, right? And everybody is in sync with it. So, for example, if as an accelerator, I work very closely with all the possible incubators and the AICs in the country. Why do I do that? How do I do that? Because each of these players, they are backward integration partners for me. To a large extent, I am rest assured that the moment a company is getting incubated, and again, a lot of efforts put in from your team side also in that direction, where if a company is actually incubated with some incubator or AIC or TBI, I'm less assured that out of 10, at least 4 or 5 or 6 points on my checklist is taken care of, right? So hence in that direction, they are backward partners for me, or backward integration partners for me. Likewise, for the companies that are incubated over there, or for that particular incubator, it works at best because for them I'm a forward integration partner.
Correct.
Right, so it becomes very important that each one of us in the ecosystem, we understand our role and we play it in the right possible way. So, and it only gets a little more seamless today vis-a-vis, of course, I understand that all of us are learning, all of us are evolving over a period of time, but definitely this has got this integration or this seamless integration has become a lot more easier today, and it's visible, the results are visible out of it, vis-a-vis perhaps what it was 1 year, 3 years or 5 years back.
Great insights there, I should say, and rightly pointed out, like the jobs to be done, concept. You need to understand what are the jobs to be done by your end user. And where you fit in the day journey. Like if you're going to pitch a product, if you're going to pitch a service, so from morning, the time they wake up till the time they go to bed, or whenever, even in fact, when they're sleeping, right? Where is that your product fit in? So understanding that, you rightly pointed out, and what Sir mentioned about going to the end user, sitting with your customer, being empathetical, understanding the smallest of the nuances, because there is where you can also have your unique and niche thing, which others might be not coming up with. So that's where the key thing is there. Alokji, would you like to add something to this?
Absolutely. I think a very great point added by Chintan ji, Nikhil ji and Devansh ji. One point I would want to add here is, our entire ecosystem, if we look at industries, we have been in service economy. So the entire enablement of everything was around service. Right? So it was quite easy for us to provide service, set up a thing and start selling your services. So that has been what we have been doing all these years. Even for, if you look at big corporates, so even services organization are now productizing their offerings, and that is what we are even seeing with startups as well, because startups also have started to productize. They have started to identify their niche, and they have started to productize the offering and take it to the market, which is a great step as such, because now the entire ecosystem, be it say funding or incubators and everyone, is also supporting in with the kind of money that is required to build the kind of product. And as Chintanji was saying about POV, reach out to the customers. So that is something which is like a continuous and incremental improvement is required. In fact, one of the startups I recently interacted with, they have built a small power wind mill, and they have been working with the government in Kerala right now, and there the challenge that they are facing right now is expanding into different cities in India and also into different countries, because the kind of product itself is a little niche at this point in time. Alternate energy is an emerging in India. We are seeing more and more demand for it, maybe a few years down the line. But still, it's a new concept. It's a new concept that's there. And then there are products coming from China which are like dumped into the market at a cheaper cost. So that's the kind of differentiation in terms of ideation, as well as the kind of support that they need in terms of how they can actually differentiate from other products which are there in the market. And these are the kind of conversations, I would say, and forums such as these would definitely help and enable these kind of startups who have built product which is a very, very niche sector, to take their idea to the market and to the global forum. So that's what I see from services, as we discussed, more from it. It actually gives us more insights into what our customers want, because we are connected with the customer on a day-to-day basis. We get feedbacks and brickbats from the customers on a regular basis, and that is something that gives us an idea. Now it is right time to build that product from that service idea.
Correct.
So that's how it gets tied in, and that's how it becomes a great product.
Yeah.
Oh, so I would like to also discuss on the part of student-led startups or faculty-led startups. I mean, like, I'm sure you go to these events and you share your cards and you are hit by lots of emails by students. Sir, this is an idea. Can you help me, guide me? So how much of this, like the portfolio which you are having or you intend to have, comes from incubator? Like you are connected with incubator and you are planning to help them raise funds. How much of this comes from the academia purely, like you go for pitching events, and how what is the percentage of that, and how many you yourself go and hunt or you get direct mails? So could you give an insight as to how that landscape is? For me, it's a black box.
So I mean, if I share my experience, around 30% from accelerator and incubators, 10% from academia, because we are just getting started, and the rest comes from referral as well as office hours, mentoring hours, which I conduct.
Okay. Nikhil sir?
So in our case, like I said earlier, we work very closely with the incubators and AICs, right? And I wouldn't want to peg a percentage to it, but definitely a heavy percentage comes out of the companies that have been incubated, and that is more out of choice, because like I said earlier, for me, eyes closed, backward integration है, और plus काफी कुछ चीजें are already taken care of, right? Incubation stage पे, I don't have to lend my bandwidth again to get their basics in place, because that is what is expected from an incubator, and fortunately, thankfully, incubators are playing their role well today. A lot of deliverables on this context have already started showing results. So for me, it only works better in that way, definitely. The second point, that when it comes to academia, we've also started believing in the fact that we cannot do without that side of it, right? So I mean, that's a hard fact. So let's accept that fact, and also it works at best for all of us involved, because surely because of the fact being that it has been created as a habit in those students today, right? It was previously mentioned that students are very keen to kind of interact with us and interact and know more about our theses and stuff like that. Honestly, if you ask me, when I was a student, I never did that. राइट मतलब हमने कभी एस्पायर भी नहीं किया था कि हम खुद का 15-18 या 20 साल की उम्र में हम अपना जॉब छोड़ के या हम अपना जॉब नहीं शुरू करेंगे बट हम कुछ बिजनेस शुरू करेंगे. इफ़ यू आस्क मी, आई डोंट नो हाउ मच माई को पैनलिस्ट विल अग्री टू इट, बट मैंने नहीं किया था ये. आई नेवर थॉट अबाउट इट, राइट. बट टुडे स्टूडेंट्स आर रियली एस्पायरिंग इन दैट डायरेक्शन. इनफैक्ट और मैं बाहर किसी की बात क्या करूँ. माई ओन सन टुडे, ही इज़ इन द 10th स्टैंडर्ड, ही इज़ 15 years old, एंड जस्ट यस्टरडे ही टेल्स मी कि डैड ये स्पेस में मैंने नहीं सुना है कि कोई स्टार्टअप है, बट क्या इसमें हम कुछ देख सकते हैं. फंड तो आप कर दोगे, एक्सलेट तो आप कर दोगे, तो आइडिया कैसा है. Now, this kind of a discussion I never had with my dad in the past.
Absolutely.
Right? So it only shows in what direction we are moving. It only shows how aspiring the students are. It only shows what kind of a strength is given to them. And that strength can only be given to them when there is an ecosystem support out there available.
Right.
And that has to be from the grassroots level. That has to be inculcated as a habit, as a practice, and the entire thought process would change. I think we've covered up that journey. We've reached a decent stage today. We just need to take off from there.
Amazing thoughts. Coming to Devanshi, what's your take on it?
So my percentage is basically 5% from incubation center, mainly because from incubation you're still left to do some revenues, create a good MVP, etc., traction and all. So we typically come at that stage, and hence it is very negligible, 4-5%. Accelerators, yes, 10 to 15% odd. A lot of the things, maybe another 30-40% odd from referrals from VC friends, angel friends, stuff like that, and another 40% odd from online, from website, etc. And LinkedIn, from social media and stuff like that. So that is the kind of breakup that we have. Yeah.
Alok ji, any insights from you?
Again, I mean, without putting any numbers or percentage to it, I would say incubators and referrals is a big part of what we do. And I mean, as the ecosystem is evolving, we see more and more students getting interested at the school level, as Nikhil ji just mentioned. So that is the kind of example that we are seeing. 18-year-old, 20-year-old, wanting to do something which we, when we were in school or colleges, we never thought that first important thing was naukri mil jaye bas. Right? That was the only important thing. Today, that's not the thing. People intentionally choose to sit out of placement and they want to do something on their own. That's the kind of change that we are seeing, and I would say big thanks to the Startup India program, which has actually revolutionized that thought process in India, and वो change भारत में भी देख रहे हैं.
And I think yesterday we were at one of the institutes. There was a placement going on. At the same time, they were celebrating e-summit. So you can say two sides of the coin. And I mean, that's how the ecosystem is evolved.
What was the weightage in both these segments? I think it'll be equal.
I don't know. Participation was good. Like the people, I think once you are part of the e-cell and you start propagating, right, you start catching up that sense of getting into it, and you want to know more. And I think it takes time by the time you want to plunge into it, but it starts somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So
that is because the continuous engagement which is being built by you and your team. I would definitely like to mention here, because earlier, couple of years ago, it was a kind of annual fair, youth festival kind of thing, which was like a annual activity. But nowadays, if we see, there are lot many events which are happening in academia, industry, various professional associations. So there are multiple avenues for an aspiring entrepreneur to build traction around it, meet people, meet mentors. And as and when it comes from academia, there are different people within academia, various accelerator, incubator managers, CEOs who are actively nurturing, helping, and providing confidence to these aspiring entrepreneurs, and that itself is giving them a firm confidence to move to the next level. So kudos to you and your team.
Oh, thank you so much,
Mr.
sir.
Umesh.
I mean, like, it's all the ecosystem.
This should be a PPP. It has to be a public-private partnership always. So when the government is doing one, I think the private people like us need to step up and do one. If the government is doing two, we need to bring up and do two, and then support the the entrepreneurs, the founders, the young founders.
I think Devansh, the acceptability and the realization, more importantly, has already begun to show its face, right? So people from both sides of it, whether from the government side of it or from the private player side, or corporates, mid corporates to large corporates, they begin to realize that one cannot do without the other. So that's why the natural synergies already started showing a lot of results and in that direction.
Flourishing now.
Yes,
That is
yes.
a very positive.
And that itself shows the, I mean, cumulative momentum what we have built. And as we proudly note that India is world's third largest startup ecosystem, it has got lot many building blocks, and we are proud to be one of the building blocks in this entire value chain.
Right. So one of the things which was highlighted during the interaction was, what Nikhilji also mentioned, and you affirmed it, and to an extent, I could get a sense that you also kind of affirmed it, was the role of incubation center. Right, becomes very important now, and having 1,000 plus incubation centers in the country, more than 1 lakh startups. We had a session, a short called Viksit Bharat, Incubating the Future, where we highlighted this aspect of the role of incubation centers in handholding maybe the patents happening in the campuses, or hunting ideas from their end. Like if there are good patents, how we can scale it up or help them to get funded and create an MVP around it and scale it. So incubator is playing a very pivotal role. So I want to understand and gauge from your end as in the startup life cycle, right, or in the ecosystem, how is your synergies? I mean, like, obviously I've heard from Nikhil ji, so accelerators का तो आपने मतलब पहले ही बता दिया है, but incubators जो टायर 3 में है, टायर 2 cities में है, तो उनके लिए investors के तरफ से what is that you have to offer, or do you have some case studies where you kind of have reached out to those, or they have reached out and you kind of supported them?
Yeah, in fact, there is a good traction or good awareness which is being considered. Initiatives are being explored for setting up endowment funds by various universities.
Yeah, I wanted to talk.
And that is where, I mean, I clearly see that there is great amount of guidelines and clarity available by government. The forward-thinking incubators and academic institutions are considering setting up their own endowment fund, and that is going to make really a good, act as a good catalyst for entire ecosystem, because that would enable every alumni to invest into the startups which are being incubated by their alma mater. So that is something I really look forward to, and that is how the investor network would extend its reach to tier 2, tier 3 and beyond in next 1,000 days. That is what I'm really positive about, and it would also provide a good bouquet of investable opportunities and startups to all the investors, and eventually startup will formally become an investment class.
Great thoughts, sir. Anyone else would like to add to it?
I think also it is important, Umesh, that we need to peg this to different stages also, right?
Right.
So I'm not just talking stages in terms of stages of the startup company, but also stages across the entire kind of deliverable
Valuation.
mechanism
Right.
and stuff, right? So it begins at the incubation center. In fact, I could give two examples over here from us, that a little bit of an initiative that we have taken, that at Marwari Catalyst, we actively work with, I already mentioned that we work actively with AICs, incubators, so on and so forth. But a fourth angle that we've not yet spoken about is that we actively work in terms of transforming each of these centers to a center of excellence also, a COE also.
Okay.
So when I'm talking of a center of excellence, what I'm trying to actually mention over here is that the entire end-to-end program, the end-to-end process is then taken care of by Marwari Catalyst.
Okay.
Right. So we are rest assured, whether it is at an idea stage company which is getting incubated, moving it or graduating to an accelerator, moving on to a fund. Those are the different stages that I'm actually talking about. And that is exactly the role that Marwari Catalyst is now actively playing with academia and other institutions in the country. That's one. Secondly, also we rolled out a program and initiative by Marwari Catalyst which goes under the name of Startpreneur.
Okay.
Now, what exactly Startpreneur, and we spoke about this in the past also. Startpreneur is basically, if I mention it in a common language, in a simple language, it basically hints towards the fact that let's incubate the incubator first.
Okay.
Okay. So which means actually, with all due respect, actually being I wouldn't say I would want to kind of impart that knowledge or so over there only, or keeping it restrained only to that, but it is about using that knowledge in the right direction or at right steps. Right, because we have accepted the fact that there is a process to be followed in everything that we are doing,
Right.
especially when it comes to the startup ecosystem. And it only gets better if we can transform this in a way which is acceptable from all sides, and it ultimately leads to a result. आज काम हम सब कर रहे हैं, मेहनत हम सब कर रहे हैं, गवर्नमेंट के इतने सारे इनिशिएटिव्स है, आपकी टीम काम कर रही है, बट इट कैन नॉट गेट बेटर अगर उसमें से रिजल्ट नहीं आ रहा है. राइट. तो वो एक प्रोसेस चेक जो करना है, या रियलिटी चेक, अगर थोड़ा हार्ड वर्ड यूज़ करें, अगर वो एक रियलिटी चेक करना है, इट कैन ओनली हैपन इफ आई एम इवेल्युएटिंग अ स्टार्टअप कंपनी टुडे. इट्स टाइम दैट समबडी इवेल्युएट्स मी ऑल्सो. Right. If somebody evaluates each one of us.
Right.
That can only happen once it is there in the form of a process, and the end objective is to get evaluated.
Right. Chintanji wants to add something.
Yeah, and that is where, I mean, I would say that I'm part of IEEE Entrepreneurship and IEEE Technology Engineering Management Society. I am one of the board of governors, and we are hosting a global competition for student startups across the globe, and that is where students now have opportunity to validate and benchmark their ideas with their peers in different countries and test waters in these international markets. So the reason why I'm mentioning this is, apart from going to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, we are also having exposure to global startup scenario through professional associations like IEEE Entrepreneurship and IEEE TEMS. So Indian students have got decent amount of internet speed in these tier 2 and tier 3 cities. They are able to create their own digital marketing campaigns using Instagram and other platforms, and that is how you can say that Indian e-commerce market is spread across 8,000 towns and cities which are enabled with 4G and 5G. And that is where we have that opportunity, that addressable marketplace. And by demographic parameters, most of our population, 65% of our population is under 35. So that is where their spending power is super. And if you have a great product, great service to offer, definitely you have a customer who is waiting for you. And the strong internet network spread across these towns would definitely help you connect to a customer very soon.
Great insights on that, sir. So you talked about internet network. I want to talk to you about the investor network which AICT has. So we have recently, I don't know how many of you are aware, but we have an investor network where you can register, and then we will be passing on the startups and the pitch decks to you, and like what has been done like with Ivy Cap Ventures and the way they did it. So we also intend to do that in near future. I would request all of you and to all the investors, incubators and students, or faculty members who are listening to this, any investor who is coming to your event, ask them to register on the investor network of AICT, and it will really help in connecting the dots. So sitting over here, I don't know if there is an angel investor in Nagpur. We are doing an event on 3rd December, and I'll be reaching out to some of you again. Do you have a connect over there? So to do that, it's really important to map the ecosystem. And I think to an extent, Startup India has done that well. I mean, like on their website, they have list of investors, they have list of incubation centers, right? They have also mentioned about where you need funding, how you need funding. So anyone who wants to understand the nuances of funding, in fact, I was invited by one of the institutes, so I just took all that information from Startup India portal and I, delivered it, because it's so seamless. They have covered everything, and especially the Bhaskar platform, right? We did a session with the Startup India team, like Magic Incubation Center, organized it day before yesterday, and it was a success. So a lot of things they have tried to map: mentors, investors, startups, right, and the incubation centers. But they also need to, I think, map the fabrication labs, because I was coming to that question only, and I'll connect the dots with that. When you talk about product startups, right, and when you look at ecosystems like Israel, they are known for rapid prototyping, be it software, be it hardware, and for that we need to have fabrication labs in place, and we are right now sitting in one. Which is funded by AICT, and it's an Idea Lab. So, and we are going to give 150 more across the country in coming year. So, how we can connect the dots with the incubators, the fabrication labs, and the funding opportunities, because a lot of things is happening, and it's really difficult to keep a track on what's happening, where. And what is your thought process on it? Like, if you want to make product startups, or if you have some of the product startups in your portfolio, how much time does it take? Obviously, product startups take time to, lift off. So how do you maintain that patience? And how do you actually, kind of guide or mentor them or bring these opportunities?
So I'll tell you an example of an experience. We took 4 years to develop a product. But we were firm on our vision. We were firm on what we want to build and how it would solve. It went around 12 to 14 versions. But finally, we are having a decent traction by selling that product. So definitely that vision and passion, that matters while we are building any product. On the second part of your question is around building traction between accelerator, incubator, maker's place, and academia. I would say that maker place like these are the ones which are upcoming hangout spots for aspiring entrepreneurs. These facilities are available to students for 6 days a week, and that is where we need to encourage our students to visit these makers labs. We need to request our leadership from academia to make a point so that students, a day-long trip, a picnic themed around these maker lab, see the maker lab in action, probably understand what type of tools are available there, and maybe sometime in a year's time develop some kind of prototype supporting vision of these student entrepreneurs. So visiting these makers lab is something which Idea Lab, which I would highly recommend. It's a great infrastructure available at the heart of Mumbai city, and not many of us know. So I would encourage all aspiring entrepreneurs and academicians to make a point to visit this Idea Lab situated at SPIT.
Thank you so much, sir. Coming to the next part of it, you go to this pitch events. This is very student, related question. And I see some of the students, are denied or you want to say, okay, it's a mimic product, or me too product, or something like that. So how is your approach to denial? And has it happened ever that you went back and said, no, yeah, I should have given a second thought on it? That guy maybe had a potential, or even if some product is there in the market, maybe this guy has better passion or some extra marks over there where he or she can scale it up. So has it ever happened with you all?
Yeah,
Anyone?
so should I go?
Yeah,
I think it has happened with me, and there have been instances where there are exciting products or exciting concepts which those students are working upon. Some of them have built little bit of it. Maybe some of them have also generated some small revenues doing as a small part-time activity because of their academics also being there, right? The only challenge that comes is that they are too much focused on their career in that point in time, which is of course which has to be that way, right? They cannot leave their college and just start this startup because I said, hey, you need this is a very good thing, or two other people said this is a very good thing, you need to do that, right? So practically it becomes difficult to really invest a large sum or take them to a investor or something like that, because probably they are not at that they are not properly presented at for that situation of raising capital, of getting investment. But the best thing that we can do for them is to probably take them to a good incubation center where they get that support, where they get some research labs, as you said, fabrication labs like this, which are being built now by ICT and stuff. So that is the best thing that can happen to students like that, which I have at least tried. That if I have interacted with someone, I've connected them to one or two incubation जहाँ पे उनको वो support मिल सकता है. They can get that space out there, they can get a lab out there, they can work out of there, create their prototype. तो उनको शायद वहाँ से कुछ support मिल जाए. But एकदम funding करना at that point in time becomes practically थोड़ा difficult, from a if you take from a VC or from an investment point of view, तो वो sense नहीं बनता immediately.
No, I'm only thinking from the student point of view.
Yeah, from a student point of view, I think incubation.
Because students have those gleaming idea, eyes, and they come with a lot of hopes for these events.
They get that prize money, which is probably 4 lakhs, 5 lakhs, 1 lakh.
So has it ever happened? Like, anyone else would like to add to what?
I just want to add a point here.
Yeah.
Mainly, see, every idea for a founder, an idea is definitely the prime thing for him. Uske liye, this is the idea kind of thing, and so obviously he is very, very excited about that particular idea. The only thing is, I mean, yes, every one who is going to fund the idea, they have their own benchmarks that they have set. They have their own list of parameters, checklist. It's like a thing, like applying for a job. You may apply to 100 different places, but there's only one job that will hire you. So it is exactly in the similar analogy, I would say. It is exactly like that. Some investors may like your idea, others may not like it, because you just do not fit the bill of that particular investor. It is just as that. Now, how to grow, it's important that you seek that feedback. And I think I'll again go back to that feedback idea which Chintanji mentioned on seeking feedback from the customers, taking feedback from the investor who has denied the funding, and then reaching out to the mentor, reaching out to the incubator or an accelerator, so that you can further build on that idea. Okay, this is the gap that I need to fill. So let me just try and further improve that incrementally or significantly, whatever way. Let me just try and improve the product so that it becomes funded by all and liked by all. Right. So that's the
great lessons for the startup founders who are listening this podcast about how to go about engaging or negotiating with the investors. So there are so many questions, like for funding, and I know when you sit for the pitching or the demo, we always say that it's 5-minute pitch and 5 minutes feedback, but it stretches sometimes to up to half an hour too. And in that, so many pointers and hand holding they require. See, I have been to through IIC, IP and TT meets, we have been doing some pitching for these startups, and I have seen them that they have a lot of questions. Now, how do we bridge this gap? Because in academia or at their home, like for example, I am working on a AI/ML startup. My dad does not know about AI/ML. Maybe my peers also don't know about what is AI/ML. Whom should I go to, right? And I think rightly pointed out, I can go to an incubator maybe. But incubator does not give me a clarity whether I will get funded, or they might not have seen maybe. So at academic level, how do we can bridge that or provide some kind of a support? Can there be some linkage which could be created?
Linkage would be in terms of having a mentor. And it is highly recommended that each entrepreneur must have multiple mentors. A great mentor for marketing, a great mentor for finance, a great mentor for technology, and likewise. So try to work with a mentor and understand what is the direction you are taking, is there any gap, and how you can improve yourself. So my take here is work with multiple mentors. Only one mentor cannot help you in all domains at all stages. So that is where it becomes really necessary for you to have a pool of mentors, a group of mentors which would help you in different situations. And it is better to calendarize the interaction with mentors and meet them at a regular interval, update them about your progress, and seek their guidance on the next steps.
Well, Umesh, it is not that bad as it appears to be, actually, right? So I'll just take a little bit of a pushback and on a lighter note say that हम जैसे जब पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करते थे तो वहाँ पे कॉन्सेप्ट हुआ करता था गाइड का, right? Terms have changed over a period of time, language has changed over a period of time, but the basics still remain the same. हम उस टाइम पे जब गाइड की बात करते थे, गाइड से हम क्या एक्सपेक्ट करते थे? गाइड को हम थीसिस बना के देते थे, एक प्रोजेक्ट नोट बना के देते थे. He was expected to evaluate it. We were supposed to present it to a group of people in the form of a viva, which is today pitch-in. Right? It's basically the same, right?
Absolutely.
So and then उसके बाद में they will give inputs and they will score us on it. Right, so that is exactly what is happening in the startup ecosystem today. Right, yes, like rightly mentioned, today perhaps something which has changed is that one subject matter expert might not hold good in terms of advising or giving clarification on subject 2 or subject 3, but so be it. That is okay. I mean, you have a host of ecosystem available today over here. You have a host of specialists and industry experts available today.
Right.
Like for example, when I actually interact with students, I tell them very clearly 2 things. First, to make them at ease that guys, y'all are in a much better spot today than where students or your succeeders were maybe 10 years, 20 years back.
Right.
You have the ecosystem available today जो 10 साल, 20 साल, 25 साल पहले नहीं था. It is on you how best you can pull out the best possible requirements which work in your favor, whether it is in the form of experts, whether it is form of investments, everything. It is all there. It is on you how at best to pull it out. एक चीज़ का खाली हमेशा ध्यान रखना that don't try to skip a step. There is no shortcut over there. And in fact, you and me were together previously also on a panel and we spoke, we gave the same narrative there also कि there are processes in place today. Let's follow that.
Right.
Trust us when you're saying that every single step there is somebody who is there to help you. The ownership is on you in terms of how much you can pull out from that individual or from that institution. And everybody is there to help. Everybody is there to kind of make your venture grow. And obviously, I make it a point to encourage all of these students, innovative ideas, because it takes a lot of courage to actually come out with that entire thought process कि मुझे कुछ करना है, मुझे कुछ अलग बनाना है, मुझे कुछ disruptive idea लेके आना है, मुझे कोई solution निकालना है. This itself is a very brave step to be taken. Those guys have already taken that, or they've already done that. The ownership is on people like us to kind of to encourage them and support in whatever best possible way we can. The key over here is let's not skip a step. Let's not forego our compliances, our procedures, processes, all sorts of requirements, start requirements. Everything is in place. I make it a point to tell all my students with whom I interact, all innovative ideas, that your project is fundable. Your project is there to grow. but you need to follow these protocols. I think that's what it is.
I think that discipline also needs to be there.
Absolutely, yes.
We have majorly talked about student-led startups here, right? And I would like to touch a base upon the faculty-led startups coming from academia, because these people are more mature. They understand the nuances. I mean, I may be wrong. They understand the nuances. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they understand it, like these things better. So I have traveled across Maharashtra region. I met a couple of startup founders who are faculties, who are incubated in their incubation center, running a business worth 3-4 CR, and they are doing well. I mean, like, they are also passionately teaching their students, right? What is your take? Have you come across some faculty-led startup so far who is an academician? Maybe they had a patent, they want to translate it into an MVP, pitch it to the incubator, or they had a startup of their own in one of our events also. Did you come across any of the faculty-led startups, and what's your perspective about those?
Yeah, definitely. There is a great opportunity and demand at these faculties end. Last month, we at IEEE conducted a workshop, a series of workshops for faculties who would like to become an entrepreneur. And we had around 700 plus registrations.
Wow.
So that speaks about the kind of demand
700 plus.
we
And these are
have.
across India, or?
It is across India.
Wow.
781 to be precise,
Yeah.
right?
Wow.
So that is about validating your idea, about protecting your innovation, about building a MVP, about acquiring first couple of customers, pitching best practices, and then again legal and HR. So this was the kind of schema we had, and we had 781 registrations.
Wow. That's
To be
amazing.
precise. So there exists a great demand for these aspiring entrepreneurs who are right now in academia, and their probability for success is much higher than students because they have a clear vision. Only thing is they need to taken through certain rigor so that
come out
at
of
least
that.
they are able to accelerate their journey. The programs what we run for students in different types of names, formats may not be directly applicable to them. So the kind of level of maturity of these programs, the kind of hands-on for these programs needs to be relooked at. And definitely I'm confident that as and when such initiatives are there, more and more faculties would come forward to realize their entrepreneur vision.
Right. Anyone else would like to add?
Yeah, so I have spoken to 2-3 such teachers or faculties, and who want to start their own startups and who are trying to build something. What I found a common point, slightly on the negative side of the faculties, was that they are pretty much little bit rigid in the way they approach, because what has happened is their system has been built that ये मुझे पढ़ाना है, ये मेरा curriculum है, ये ऐसे ही चलता है. So what he said, right, that people require, these faculty owners just as students, they require that grooming, that mentoring, that opening up. So they have been very much in their own shuttle that okay ये ऐसे ही होता है, मेरा curriculum है, यही चीज़ होता है, ऐसे ही पढ़ाना होता है. तो वो लोग वही mindset से, because they've taught for 20 years. We have to be empathetic also to them that is their system which has come, and it comes very naturally. With one such incident which I clearly remember, it was like 4-5 months back. I was like, ये ऐसे investor के नज़रिए से ये ऐसे आप नहीं कर सकते. It was some situation, I'm not recollecting it, but he's like, नहीं ये ऐसे ही होता है, हमने ऐसे ही सीखा है, या ऐसे ही होगा.
So because they are always in the teacher mode.
They are always in the teacher
you.
mode.
I think so. It is more to do with unlearning and then learning new
Yes,
things.
yes,
So
yes.
that is the biggest challenge for
That
anybody,
is the
right?
biggest
Unlearn
challenge.
करना, आप learn तो कर लोगे नया skill set, but पुराना skill set unlearn करना और फिर नया learn करना, I think that is a challenge.
Because उनका वो उनका system में fit हो गया है. So that is why
On the
such
contrary,
programs.
एक like I've been interacting with one of the health tech companies, and so the faculty has assisted the students, and they are part of like as a mentor, or I would say as equity stake, and help them to build. So the idea is of the faculty, and they have patented that idea, and now the students are building that idea.
Wow, what a,
So,
what
that's
a,
very good.
that is
What
that
an
is
amazing
another
case.
Another
Side
way
to it,
where I have seen things are shaping up. So
Yeah.
that's another angle.
And
actually.
students are flexible to be molded. You know, they can be molded. आप mentor करोगे वो सीख के उससे मतलब they'll grow. You know, very large then.
Yeah, good insights on that. I mean, like, it takes time for faculties to nudge, you
Adjust to that new space.
adjust to
Yeah,
that space. And I think many of the faculties who are patents, like, I think there's great lessons on that as to how we can unlearn and relearn and, shape our journey ahead. I mean, like, it does not take much to, unlearning. And I think it's always better to be like a kid, always in the learning process that, okay, if something is new, we are able to hear it and pivot our idea or the thoughts around it. So I think we have covered a lot of things, but one aspect is on the policy. So if anything is on the policy aspect, you would like to share, like if you have gone through startup policy or the national, innovation startup policy, which AICT has, any aspect, maybe you have not gone through it, but you think this could add value at policy level पे हमें ये चीज़ definitely करनी चाहिए. So what would that be?
So I think there are, let's break this down further, right? So we are seeing two sides to it. We are seeing a couple of states that are very active in terms of giving a boost to the entire startup ecosystem for that particular region. And a very classic example that I can give over here, perhaps if I can go on record in saying that maybe Gujarat. So Gujarat is, I think, moving to a great, in a great possible way to boost the entire economy and to boost the entire startup ecosystem there. We've already witnessed similar initiatives from Kerala, right? We are seeing something happening in Odisha, Haryana, all those locations. So I think it is time that the other states also start stepping up their activities. And
No, Maharashtra is also doing well.
Maharashtra is also doing well, with no offense.
Mera-
Yes, for sure. Yes,
I'll be in
absolutely.
trouble. I'm like,
No, we
my
are
whole
all
audience
based over
must be
here.
from Maharashtra.
No, so Maharashtra is also doing well, and in fact, and I only supported that by saying that the couple of institutions that we are very actively working with,
Right.
be it in Pune, be it in Aurangabad, Nagpur and stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no offense to that.
Yes.
I am supporting the.
No,
So
and
I
it's a
already validated
startup
that.
state ranking जो नीति आयोग का होता है,
हाँ.
so it clearly mandates that.
Correct. So I think that is the only observation where the states which are perhaps lagging behind a little bit, I think they should step up, because ultimately it is the boost of the entire ecosystem, not just constrained to that particular region, but at the umbrella level it is going to be at Bharat level, India level, and so on and so forth.
But again, Nikhil sir, the challenge which I face is, or what I feel is, see, in Mumbai or Maharashtra or Gujarat or these top 10, states, startup state ranking states, we have those resources and, technology is playing a very pivotal role. But if you look at Northeast, right, we cannot expect them, or, there might be less number, I might be wrong, there might be less tech startups, but there might be some good organic startups, traditional businesses, which it's very unique. So how do we connect the dots? And I think in the previous interaction you mentioned कि हमें सिर्फ टेक स्टार्टअप्स को नहीं देखना है, आपके लिए भी कि 2-3 लोग मिलके कुछ कर रहे हैं, वो भी एक स्टार्टअप है. तो how do we bridge that? Because as of now, Startup India का definition is tech, and without tech you cannot move ahead. So should there be some other?
I'm not wanting to talk anything against a particular initiative, but
No, I'm not
let's
saying that pro or con aspect. Can we add something more to
No,
it?
we can do that for sure, because see, we've already started witnessing that the regions where tech inclination is not there, their USP is in a different sphere altogether, right? So, for example, you mentioned Northeast. Northeast is very strong when it comes to spices as a product. We are talking about, say, J&K. We can take the liberty of talking about J&K today. Maybe things were a little different a couple of months or years back, but J&K also is very strong in spices and saffron and
Right.
handicrafts, artifacts and stuff like that. So that's a product company, and we'll go back to the initial point that we spoke about, whether it's product or tech. Let's do kind of a combat between product and service. I don't think that justification holds good over here, right? Because every region has a USP, every
Right.
region has a deliverable. I think it is time that the people from the ecosystem start making their positioning very clear. Like, for example, I'm very clear that Marwari Catalyst is an accelerator. So I will not want to perhaps look at A, C. I will want to focus only on B. So likewise, if there's a thematic fund, I think they need to reach out to those regions. I think it's wrong on our part if the potential is there and if you're still not reaching out to them. I don't think the handicrafts or the artifacts that we're seeing in a region like J&K, perhaps that flavor, that taste you would, or that visibility you will see in other regions coming in from India. I don't think the spices that we see in Assam and the rest of the northeast region, we could see that in Mumbai, right? So they have their own USPs. You need to put a structure in place, and I think that's where also some expectations could be put forward to the government, that when we are actually framing a policy over there or for that particular region, let it be a little more customized to that particular region rather than being a universal startup policy.
Right. We cannot
So,
templatize everywhere
yes,
the
yes.
same thing. Chintanji wants to add something.
So, I mean, the reason for success for our startup ecosystem is policies, clarity in policies, implementation at scale, and that is where I see that yes, policies are playing a pivotal part. Because of these policies, all of us are able to look at certain common direction and work towards it. However, in my view, the frequency for seeking feedback to localize the policy needs to increase.
Absolutely.
So probably we can have a policy which is valid for 2025 and then again bring up a new version for year 2026.
Right. So
There can be maybe 2 updates or no update, but at least refresh the policy every year and seek feedback, implement those learnings which you have received from different regions to make it better and better over time.
Coming to the example of 1,000 survey or 3,000 and 10,000. So for a country like India, I think we need to have more such initiatives where we need to have a dashboard where all the policies are and real time people can kind of comment it or map it or give some rating for it. So
Like I must mention the initiative wherein government sought feedback about the deep tech startups policies was amazing, and
Absolutely.
the way we actually hosted a roundtable, invited deep tech entrepreneurs, captured their feedback and passed it on to the ministry. And we are happy to see that many of these suggestions which were given by the roundtable hosted by us were actually considered by ministry. So yes, if you have a justified demand, then our leadership is willing to consider them and then make it available for you.
amazing.
So just one point to that. I think the policy today is more structured around more industrialized states and less industrialized states. So states which have less industrialization, whereas more is still you have an agrarian economy. The focus of startup also is I would say it's still slow. It's very slow as compared to which are states that are much more industrialized, without naming any state altogether. So there has to be a say system around, or there has to be a policy refreshment as we talked about it, that it focuses on how do we build an alternate ecosystem within states which do not have that kind of, say, tech enablement, or which do not have that kind of investor ecosystem or incubator ecosystem built into there, so that you have, because there are people where there are states where people go out to study to other states, and then there are people who migrate from their state to other states, right? So in order to, I think this putting this kind of policy system where you provide all the ecosystem, let the ecosystem come and grow that, focus on those states, would definitely help to create that kind of economic thrust that is required within the less, startup ecosystem state, wherein
I think
this
there
can
are
actually
different
help.
startups over there.
Absolutely.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
they
And
might not be the tech one, but
absolutely, it could not be a tech one. It could be, say, purely agriculture focused, or maybe they're creating something in the organic food segment. Right. It shouldn't be in the tech segment. Tech is only an enabler.
Yeah.
Right? Tech is only an enabler part of it. Tech, obviously, if you grow at large, you have to ultimately incorporate tech into your startup, because that's the only thing that will help you to scale. Right. So that's part of it. But if you have the entire ecosystem around you, you know who to reach out. Like we talked about marketplace, right? So you know who to reach out. You have a properly framed policy which is a little, say, more refined for that particular state or region where there is less development of ecosystem at this point in time. I feel that a little, say, a differentiation or more focused approach needs to be created on the policy side.
I also feel I also feel that in terms of the policy, one area where a certain improvement can happen, and this is something which I've seen from live examples of our startups, is when the grants are being there, the grant has to be issued by the Startup India Seed Fund Scheme or the Nidhi Prayag or something, right? That is something where I feel that there has to be a uniformity in terms of कि आपको कितने टाइम में grants मिल सकता है, right? Or a uniformity in terms of a decision making, whether आपको मिलेगा कि नहीं मिलेगा. So I feel there is a lack of communication, and this is again a sort of a feedback, which could go.
I think Startup India team might be listening to this.
So please, guys, no offense, but this is something which I feel that
you guys are doing good job.
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job. Our startups have got grants also, and as Nikhil bhai also said, so grants have been got. But what I feel that there could be some better communication in terms of a proper guideline कि अच्छा आपको 3 महीने में ये आपका इंटरव्यू हो गया है इंक्यूबेशन सेंटर के साथ 1 राउंड 2 राउंड व्हाटएवर इट इज आपको अभी 2 महीने में मिल जाएगा पर what happens sometimes that there is a lag. Sometimes elections can come in that particular state. Yeah, sometimes something else problem is going on. Yeah, sometimes there is a lack of funds. So incubation center का fund खत्म हो गया है.
Especially the product life cycle is also less now.
Yeah, so
6 months to 1.
Yeah, so there has to, because
year.
what happens is that the startup gets stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of that 20 lakh not coming in at that point in time, or coming in टुकड़े में आता है, कभी 3 लाख आ गया 4 लाख आ गया, वो उसका क्या कर लेगा? Right, when a commitment is of 20 lakhs, it does not come on time. So there has to be some kind of a policy or a guideline being set which says that okay, it is yes, then okay, in how many months I will give you, you will get it. Or if it is no, then a humble no, that is also fine. But that, I think that is somewhere a lag, because of that 20 lakhs of fund which is very crucial for that startup at that time. Right. Not after 6 months. मेरे को 6 महीने के बाद आया, शायद मेरी कंपनी बंद हो गई होगी यार, आपके पैसे नहीं आए तो.
No.
What should I do?
पैसे नहीं आए इसलिए कंपनी बंद हो जाएगी.
हाँ, so at that time it is very important. So yeah, maybe that one.
So I think just to add to what we spoke about over here, I think also important point over here is that we've seen industries in India where we talk about a single window clearance, right? Can that kind of a practice not be inculcated in the startup ecosystem when it comes to government grants and subsidies? And so it is still there. I'm not saying it is not there, but when I'm saying that a single window clearance, at least all kinds of real-time basis updates, bottlenecks, pain point areas, additional requirements if at all called for, let that be uploaded on a real-time basis so that there is no time lag in between, right?
Okay.
अभी क्या हो रहा है, अभी ownership is either on the incubator who is facilitating the entire grant process or on us as an accelerator also to a large extent. Let that continue. But can a similar access be given to that particular startup also, where, and not just access, in true sense, information is updated over there. so that not only that they don't get a grant on time, but also they don't carry a false notion from there. होता क्या है कि हमारे स्पेस में नेगेटिविटी स्प्रेड्स रैपिडली.
Correct.
So if an XYZ founder has not got the required grant on time, we really cannot expect him to go out there and talk good about it.
That's
So for all genuine reasons, he must have not got the grant or he must have not got an update. But he is actually poisoning or kind of diluting the entire concept out there in the ecosystem. So as from BTL, from below the lane marketing perspective also, it's not in our favor. It doesn't sound too good or too appealing to the ecosystem. So,
Yeah, so
to
a
that extent, it
dashboard
can
kind
be
of a thing which can
something
really
like that.
streamline
No,
all
I
the
think
Deval bhai, the dashboard is there,
incubator.
but it needs
Yeah,
to be
it's for the
updated
incubator.
more on a real-time basis.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's where the investors come into picture. See, when we talk about the incubators, right, and government supporting funds, I think there could be some linkage where investors can guide, government. Okay, we have done this due diligence, or I'm interested in investing. So if you are investing something in that startup and that credibility is there, so it will be, I think, a win-win for government also.
But that topic is little
actually the process cycle moves in such a way that I ride on you rather than you ride
Yeah,
on me.
it is
right?
ulta. I think the investor comes
so
much
that's
later.
how
That's
it
what
is.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's
So I would expect you to take the first step and then I'm riding on you, I take the second step, not the other way around. Usually. I mean,
Yeah.
no
So
default
that's
rule,
what
but-
happening, but that's what is happening. But I think it could be pivoted to an extent because you are connected at the local level.
Yeah.
So I think that's the delay, right? So everything is maybe happening centrally. So at local level, if I get a confirmation, right? Okay, so this is a investor who is registered with Startup.
So
India.
you are at the local level and the national level. So I think the first
No, the
initiative
funds
they-
are being released from at the central level, right? So I think we have had a great discussion. Lastly, I want you guys to just talk, two lines about Viksit Bharat funding billion dreams, and what is a message for you, your message to the students, faculty, startups, or mentors listening to this podcast.
So we are at a very, I would say, a great point of time where our economy is going to get defined twice. So first one is from entire economy is shifting from fossil fuel to electric vehicles, and then within this decade itself will go from EV to green hydrogen. So that is where lot many new emerging technologies would emerge around us, new business model would emerge around us, and definitely our startup ecosystem is going to grow and entrepreneurs are going to thrive. So let us align our vision, our efforts, and let us grow together.
So I personally feel, Umeshji, that there is no secret sauce when it comes to cherry picking the right opportunity.
Right.
I think the idea is to try to get closest to being error free. Not, if not 100% error free, at least getting closest to being error free. That's the whole charm. That's where the entire kind of dynamics need to be put in the right direction. But having said that, I think I truly believe कि विकसित भारत के तरफ से ये ज़रूरी है कि हम थोड़ा एक सेल्फ एनालाइज ये भी करें कि हमें क्या प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर्स दिख रहे हैं फॉर इंडिया एज एन इकोनॉमी, वेदर इट इज़ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर एंड ट्रस्ट मी व्हेन आई एम सेइंग इट्स अ नो ब्रेनर, देयर इज़ नो रॉकेट साइंस इन टर्म्स ऑफ आइडेंटिफाइंग कि वो 4, 5, 6 कौन से प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर्स हैं. आई डोंट नीड एनीबडी एल्स टू टेल मी अबाउट दैट. Today we know that infrastructure is something which is definitely going to be in a country like India, and it's only growing from there, right? We know social impact is something which we are focusing on heavily. We know that, like we discussed earlier, green energy or energy substitute, any form of an energy substitute is something which we need to look at. हम जब social impact की बात कर रहे हैं, उसी में हम कहीं पे फ्यूल इमर्शन की बात कर रहे हैं. तो फ्यूल इमर्शन के लिए सोल्यूशन क्या है? येस इट इज़ EV, येस इट इज़ मोबिलिटी, येस गोइंग अहेड इट इज़ हाइड्रोजन एज अ फ्यूल टुवर्ड्स mobility, right? So the moment we identify these sectors or these areas, these are priority sectors. So I think that is where the entire focus needs to be diverted, and I think that's where Viksit Bharat will truly come out of it, and that's the whole purpose of putting in place Viksit Bharat.
Yes, Devanshi.
I think wonderful initiative. This is Viksit Bharat funding a billion dreams, and the kind of support that you guys are doing for student-led entrepreneurs and for early stage, very very young founders. I think that is wonderful. Through this podcast and through this medium, the only message that I would like to give to any student founder who's going to watch this, or a faculty founder for that matter, is that through this engagement and through our connection, I think you guys please build something, and we all are there to support you. We all are there to enable that that journey of yours, and be a small part of your journey from whatever that we can do. And make Bharat Viksit. So that is the only thing that I would like to say, and all the best for anyone who's building, of you guys who are watching this.
So I would want to say is Viksit Bharat 2047 is something that we have already taken that path, and we are moving on that path at a very fast rate. And startup ecosystem, along with infrastructure, developing other sectors, being it non-renewable energy or agriculture and all the other sectors, startup ecosystem development is another aspect which will create a lot of job opportunities, and it will create more and more entrepreneurs and people who can employ others in the ecosystem. So that's where this is one ecosystem which will actually fuel the development of all the other sectors and growth in other sectors. So Viksit Bharat 2047, I would say we are moving at a very fast rate, and thanks to the vision of the government to take such a great initiative towards Viksit Bharat.
Yeah. I would like to thank all the viewers for spending their valuable time to watch this podcast. I would like to especially thank the panel for taking out their valuable time to be with us, to talk about the nuances of financing startups, early stage startups, faculty-led startups. I think there are key lessons for each one of us to take away from this podcast. And I wish you all the best for your future endeavors. If you have any suggestions, feedback, to write to us. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Jai Maharashtra.